Houston, Texas, a humid summer evening. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly inside a neighborhood grocery store. Shopping carts rolled across tiled floors. Families moved through aisles filled with cereal boxes and canned goods.
What about this
At
one?
checkout lane
Looks
3,
good.
something small
Daddy.
was
You
about to
got it,
happen,
buddy.
All right, let's keep
and nobody
going.
realized it would change everything. Welcome to Story Tales, where real emotions meet unforgettable life stories. If you love powerful human stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to Story Tales, because missing stories like this might mean missing lessons that can change your life. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from right now? What time is it in your city? And have you ever helped someone without knowing how big that moment might become? All right, let's begin. But stay until the end, because what happens next, nobody in that store expected. 17-year-old Caleb Martinez stood in line holding a gallon of milk, a loaf of bread, and a pack of ramen noodles. He worked part-time after school stocking shelves at the same store. His family didn't have much. His father worked construction, his mother cleaned houses. Caleb saved every dollar he earned. College applications were coming soon. Every cent mattered. In front of him stood a woman in her early 30s. Two small children clung to her cart. The total on the register flashed $86.47. The woman searched her purse nervously. She pulled out a worn envelope of cash, counted once, counted twice. She was short. "Ma'am, you're still $18.23 short," the cashier said politely. The line grew quiet. The woman's face flushed red. "Can you remove the diapers and the chicken?" she whispered. One of her kids tugged her sleeve. "Mom, are we still having tacos?" She swallowed hard. Caleb looked down at his own groceries, then back at the woman. Have you ever seen someone embarrassed in public like that? Tell me in the comments if you've experienced a moment like this. The cashier began removing items from the belt. The woman nodded quietly, avoiding eye contact. Caleb stepped forward. "I'll cover it." The woman turned quickly. "Oh no, you don't have to." "It's okay," Caleb said gently. "Really." He handed over his debit card. The cashier processed the extra $18.23. Caleb then grabbed his small bag and left without waiting for thanks. He didn't want attention. He didn't want praise. He just didn't want those kids going home without dinner. What Caleb didn't know was that someone had been watching. From behind the customer service counter, store manager David Brooks. David had run that grocery store for 22 years. He'd seen theft, arguments, people fighting over coupons, but rarely pure, quiet kindness. He checked the store cameras that night, not because he doubted Caleb, but because something about that moment stayed with him, and he noticed something else. Caleb had only $42 left in his account after that purchase. David leaned back in his office chair. Most teenagers wouldn't sacrifice nearly half their remaining money, especially not quietly. 1 week later, Caleb was called into the manager's office. His stomach tightened. Had he done something wrong? Was he being written up? David gestured for him to sit. "Caleb, do you remember helping a customer last Tuesday?" Caleb shrugged slightly. "Yeah, she needed help." David nodded slowly. "You know we have security cameras everywhere." Caleb's face turned pale. "I wasn't stealing, I promise." David smiled. "I know." He slid an envelope across the desk. Inside was a check for $1,000. Caleb stared in disbelief. "What is this?" David folded his hands. "After reviewing that footage, I shared it with the store's regional director. We also posted the story internally across our company's community board." Caleb blinked. "Why?" David leaned forward. "Because kindness deserves recognition." He continued, "Our company runs an annual scholarship fund for employees showing exceptional character. It's usually based on performance metrics, but this year we're making an exception. Caleb's throat tightened. You've been selected as the first recipient of the Community Integrity Scholarship. Caleb sat frozen. $1,000 toward your college fund and a guaranteed summer internship at our corporate office. Caleb could barely speak. But I just paid for groceries. David shook his head. No, you showed leadership. But the twist wasn't over. Later that afternoon, the same woman from checkout lane 3 walked into the store again. She approached Caleb while he stocked cereal boxes. "Hi," she said softly. Caleb recognized her instantly. She smiled. "I've been trying to find you all week." She handed him a small handwritten card. Inside was a note. "My name is Angela. I'm a nurse at Memorial Hospital. Last week was the first paycheck I missed after being out sick for months. I was embarrassed. You helped my kids more than you know." Caleb looked up. She continued, "My supervisor saw the internal company post about what you did. We shared it at our staff meeting, and our hospital foundation wants to contribute." She handed him another envelope. Inside was a $2,500 educational grant. Caleb's hands trembled, all because of $18.23. Months later, Caleb stood on a small stage during his high school graduation ceremony. The principal spoke about leadership and integrity. Caleb's name was called not only for academic honors, but for community impact. The audience applauded loudly. His parents cried quietly in the front row. And somewhere in the crowd, Angela and her 2 children clapped the loudest. Life doesn't always reward kindness instantly. Sometimes it goes unnoticed. Sometimes it feels small. But small actions have a strange way of traveling further than we think. Caleb didn't help to be rewarded. He helped because it felt right. And that choice changed more than one life. Let me ask you something. If you were Caleb with only $42 in your account, would you have done the same? Be honest in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. What kind of story should we tell next? More teen heroes? More unexpected millionaire twists? More emotional community stories? If you don't want to miss powerful kindness stories like this, subscribe to Story Tales, because the next video might remind you that even the smallest act can echo across an entire community. Wait till you see what happens next. Story Tales. See you in the next one.